The silence of Olympus was not peace, but the heavy pause before a vessel breaks. High upon the obsidian precipice, Kratos stood without movement, a monolith against the madness. In front of him, the king of the gods flickered, a stuttering frame rate of divine lightning and cascading geometric particles drifting between dimensions. "Zeus," Kratos rumbled, his voice cutting through the ozone. "This madness ends now." From the heart of the quantum squall came a laugh that sounded like a million alternate timelines speaking at once. Madness, Titan? Or liberation? You, bound by your leaden unfazedness, cannot comprehend the terror of being everywhere and nowhere. Kratos did not blink. His immortal was an absolute refusal of constraint, an immutable law stating that reality is because he says it is. Zeus gestured, and the obsidian under Kratos' boots liquefied into impossible, non-Euclidean angles. Kratos stood as though anchored to a dead star. A fractal bolt of white-hot probability lashed out, shattering against him into miniature suns, then frosted snowflakes before vanishing. "Your tricks are meaningless," Kratos said, a metronome in a room spinning off its axis. "You cannot touch what has no definition." Zeus coalesced for a heartbeat, his ancient eyes burning. "Can you touch me, Titan? I am the wind between the stars." He warped the local pressure, filling the air with the choking weight of unchosen lives and alternate deaths. Kratos breathed it in, weighed its non-existence, and let it fall away. Gravity fractured next, tugging his limbs towards 6 horizons simultaneously. Kratos adjusted his balance, impervious to the physics-breaking whim, and walked forward. He pushed through rifts flashing like windows into dying worlds, a farmer tilling irradiated soil, a burning titan swallowed by a black hole, until he reached the centre of the storm. He found Zeus curled inside the static, tearing his own crown apart thread by thread. "This is not power," Kratos murmured, reaching out. "It is dissolution." Kratos simply was. His utter lack of compromise served as an anchor dropped into a sea of smoke. Slowly, the scattered geometry of the king snapped back into place. Zeus hit the obsidian stone, panting, skin smoking with residual static. "You didn't fight me," the king whispered. "There is no battle against that which has no hold." The silence left behind tasted like ash. Then came the sound of wind chimes in a graveyard. Magnificent. Absolutely magnificent. Zelus bounded into the clearing like a stray spark, leaving lingering streaks of violet and gold, his eyes wide with aggressive joy. "For a fraction of a second, you unstitched the entire tapestry. Brilliant." Zeus rubbed his temples. "Zelus, you have terrible timing." When the air crackles with possibility, timing is irrelevant. Zelus paced the perimeter, leaving trails of radiant light that pushed back the mountain's gloom. "You were reaching for something grand, beyond the blood of the lower spheres." "I am tired of the noise, Zelus," Zeus said, looking at his trembling palms. "I wanted a multiverse, where peace was the baseline." Zelus stopped dead, his aura flaring brilliantly, pulsing with the intoxicating heat of pure creation. "A multiverse of peace. The canvas is massive. Worlds where empathy is the skeleton of society, where imagination is the only law." He gestured wildly, and phantom glass spires, silent light-filled meadows, and impossible structures ghosted across the mist. "Execution is the art. Kratos gave you the anchor. Now you need the paint." "Paint?" "Enthusiasm." Zelus struck his chest, his voice ringing with a radiant, uncontainable fervour that made the very air vibrate. "It isn't just happiness, it's the architecture of what could be. It is the engine that drives us past the mud and the blood. We don't wish these worlds into existence. We plant them, we burn for them, we shape raw potential into living reality. We become the master architects of the cosmos." The nexus of eons did not care for glass spires, but as Zelus blazed into the grey mist, trailing light and unstoppable momentum, even the vast stone gears of Kronos seemed to hitch their rhythm against the sheer blinding pressure of his unyielding zeal. The sky above Olympus fractured, not into clouds, but into infinite scrolling ledgers of unwritten history. The king of the gods remained a bleeding stutter of light, but Zelus stood beside him, and the vacuum of space began to lean inward, drawn by the gravitational pull of his absolute conviction. To Zelus, the shattering of the cosmos was not a crisis. It was the raw, vibrating timber of a blank canvas waiting to catch fire. "Peace as a baseline," Zelus echoed, his voice carrying the resonance of 1,000 choirs singing in a burning cathedral. He did not merely speak of a tranquil multiverse, he felt its every leaf, its every breath, its every structure, with a terrifying, luminescent clarity. And because he felt it, because his enthusiasm was an anvil upon which existence had no choice but to shape itself, the laws of physics began to buckle and rewrite themselves in real time. Beneath their feet, the obsidian precipice dissolved into a sprawling tapestry of emerald valleys where rivers ran with liquid starlight. The empty air solidified into architecture that defied geometry, woven entirely from the sheer, burning joy of his imagination. There were no blueprints, no divine decrees, and no lingering doubts. Zelus burned with an unearthly, radiant fire, and every spark that left his fingertips hardened instantly into immutable, breathing truth. A civilization of silent, peaceful scholars materialized upon a floating continent of white jade, their libraries writing themselves into the ether simply because Zelus was thrilled by the prospect of their existence. Zeus staggered backward, watching the multiverse multiply into breathtaking, impossible configurations. "You are altering the architecture of creation faster than time can record it," the king whispered, his voice trembling as the static around him cleared, replaced by the warm, amber glow of 1,000,000 newly birthed suns. Kratos remained unmoving, a statue carved from absolute permanence, standing firm amidst the tidal wave of blooming realities. He watched the horizon turn into stained glass auroras and oceans of violet glass. "He does not build," Kratos rumbled, his voice a steady metronome against the screaming symphony of Zelus's boundless creation. "He compels reality to agree with his joy." Zelus laughed, a sound like glass chimes in a hurricane, as he threw his arms wide to embrace a galaxy of his own instant invention. "Doubt is the only friction left in the universe, Zeus, and we have burned it to ash.